It was the kind of news that made people stop in their tracks. Chumlee from Pawn Stars has been sentenced to life imprisonment. It was sudden, unexpected, and left fans wondering what had really happened. Was he truly sentenced to life imprisonment? Let's find out. For years, Pawn Stars has been one of the most popular reality shows on television. It's a show where people walk into a Las Vegas pawn shop with all kinds of strange, rare, or valuable items, and the world gets to watch as deals are made. History is uncovered and negotiations get heated. But among all the fascinating items and quirky customers, there was one person who quickly became a fan favorite, Chumlee. Chumlee, whose real name is Austin Lee Russell, isn't just a funny guy on TV. He's also a real businessman and a key part of the Pawn Stars crew. He became known for his laid-back attitude, sense of humor, and surprising knowledge about pop culture and collectible items. But what many people don't know is that Chumlee was part of the pawn shop even before the cameras started rolling. In fact, he started working there 5 years before the first episode ever aired. How did he end up there? Stay tuned and subscribe. Austin Lee Russell, better known to the world as Chumlee, wasn't born a celebrity. He was just a regular kid growing up in Henderson, Nevada, where life was ordinary and fame was the last thing on anyone's mind. Born on September 8, 1982, Chumlee was always a little different, funny, curious, and full of personality. But it was something else that earned him the nickname we all know today. When Chumlee was around 12 years old, something happened that would follow him for the rest of his life. One day, the father of one of his friends took one look at him and jokingly said he looked like Chumlee, the walrus sidekick from the old cartoon Tennessee Tuxedo. Why? Because of his round face and big chin. The name stuck first as a joke among kids, but eventually, it became a nickname that millions would come to recognize. From that day on, he was Chumlee. Chumlee was childhood friends with Corey Harrison, the son of Rick Harrison and grandson of the shop's founder, Richard "Old Man" Harrison. The two became best friends growing up, sharing laughs, adventures, and dreams. What Chumlee didn't know back then was that this friendship would change his life forever. Corey's family ran a pawn shop, the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop, founded in 1989 by Corey's grandfather, Richard "the Old Man" Harrison, and Corey's dad, Rick Harrison. The shop was just another local business in Las Vegas at the time. But to Chumlee, it was also a second home. It wasn't long before he started working there, first behind the scenes, learning the ropes, and helping out however he could. Chumlee was the guy behind the scenes getting things done. He spent his days testing items to see if they were real, helping load and unload heavy merchandise, and writing tickets when people brought in items to sell or pawn. In other words, he was doing the day-to-day grind of a pawn shop employee. Nothing fancy, but all essential. For 5 years, Chumlee kept his head down and worked. He wasn't famous yet. He was just the funny, easygoing guy at the shop who knew a lot about toys, video games, and pop culture. He had a talent for spotting the cool stuff, comic books, sneakers, collectibles, and he brought his own style to the shop. He had charm, a sense of humor, and a kind of laid-back vibe that made people like being around him. Then in July 2009, everything changed. That's when filming started for the first season of Pawn Stars. No one really knew what to expect at the time. It was just a show about a pawn shop, right? But when the cameras started rolling, people couldn't help but notice Chumlee. His silly jokes, his unexpected knowledge about random things, and his lovable, sometimes clueless personality quickly made him a fan favorite. But what made it even more interesting was that Chumlee wasn't playing a role. He was just being himself. He didn't need a script. He didn't pretend to be someone else. The guy who tested items, moved heavy things around the shop, and wrote tickets was the same guy who made people laugh on TV. That authenticity made him stand out. On Pawn Stars, Chumlee quickly became known as the funny guy. You know, the one who always made people laugh, even when he wasn't trying to. In almost every episode, he was the one getting teased by the others at the shop. Rick, Corey, and the old man often joked about how little Chumlee seemed to know or how slow he was to catch on. He became the comic foil. That's a fancy way of saying he was the guy everyone made fun of to make the show funnier. Some fans even started calling him the village idiot. Ouch, right? That's a pretty harsh nickname. But here's the thing, Chumlee never let that get him down. Instead of getting angry or embarrassed, he leaned into the role. He laughed along with the jokes. He didn't mind being the butt of them because deep down he knew something that others didn't. Chumlee was smarter than he looked. Behind the goofy smile and silly comments was a guy who had a few tricks up his sleeve. For example, in one episode from season 2 called Pinball Wizards, Chumlee totally shocked everyone. A customer brought in a pinball machine, and while the others thought it was just another weird toy, Chumlee stepped up and started talking about it like an expert. He knew all about how the machine worked, what parts were original, and even what it was worth. Corey, who usually teased Chumlee the most, was completely surprised. He had no idea Chumlee knew so much about pinball machines. That moment was important. It showed that Chumlee wasn't just the funny sidekick. He had real knowledge, especially when it came to the stuff he was passionate about, like vintage games, sneakers, and pop culture. Sure, he might not have been the history expert or the guy to evaluate old coins, but give him a collectible or a pinball machine, and he could tell you everything about it. Chumlee later said that people underestimate him all the time, and honestly, he was fine with that. He liked proving people wrong. He said that just because he acted silly didn't mean he wasn't smart. He knew what he was good at, and he wasn't afraid to show it when the time came. That's part of what made people love Chumlee even more. He reminded us that you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, or a person by a few dumb jokes. Yes, he played the clown on TV, but when it counted, he knew his stuff. And that surprise, that hidden layer beneath the laughs, is what turned Chumlee from just a side character into a fan favorite. So, the next time someone underestimates you, think of Chumlee. Sometimes, being underestimated is the perfect setup for a great comeback. Chumlee's life may seem fun and full of laughs on Pawn Stars, but behind the scenes, things haven't always been smooth for him. In fact, there was a time when everything nearly came crashing down. Let's go back to March 9th, 2016, a day that would change Chumlee's life in a big way. The news shocked fans everywhere. Chumlee's home had been raided by police. People couldn't believe it. The guy who always made them laugh on TV was suddenly at the center of a serious investigation. What happened? Why was the police at his house? It all started with an investigation into an intimate accusation. That led police to look more closely into his life. They got a search warrant and entered his home in Las Vegas. But what they found surprised even them. Inside Chumlee's house, police discovered multiple types of illegal substances. There were things you're not supposed to have without a prescription, and in some cases, not supposed to have at all. But that wasn't all. They also found several guns. Some were loaded, and there was more. Signs of possible substance use were found throughout the house. It was a lot to take in. Was this the same goofy guy from Pawn Stars? The one fans loved for his jokes, silly moments, and unexpected smarts? Now he was being arrested and taken away by police. It didn't feel real. Chumlee was booked and spent a short time in jail. But the next day, he was released on bond as a promise he'd show up in court and follow the rules until his case was handled. Still, the questions didn't stop. What was really going on in Chumlee's life? Was he just caught up in something bigger than himself? Had fame taken a toll on him? Or was this a wake-up call that he needed to turn things around? But that's not all. Chumlee's story didn't end with just one arrest. Things got even more serious just a couple of months later. On May 23rd, 2016, the world found out that Chumlee, whose real name is Austin Lee Russell, was now facing 20 felony charges. It was a jaw-dropping moment. How did the funny, lovable guy from Pawn Stars end up with so many serious charges? These charges included several counts related to illegal substances and weapons. Fans were stunned. Chumlee hired a well-known lawyer named David Chesnoff, someone who has represented many celebrities in trouble. And then came the next big twist. Instead of going through a long and risky trial, Chumlee made a deal, a plea agreement. He pleaded guilty to 2 charges, a felony weapons charge for having a gun he shouldn't have had, and a gross misdemeanor for attempted substance possession, basically being caught with things he wasn't supposed to have. But here's the part that made headlines. Under this deal, Chumlee would not go to prison. Instead, he agreed to 3 years of probation. That means he had to stay out of trouble, follow strict rules, and report to a probation officer. If he broke the rules, he could still end up in jail. Along with probation, the deal also required counseling, help from professionals to deal with whatever led him down this risky path. It was a second chance. This was a turning point. Chumlee could either fix his life or fall deeper into trouble. For Chumlee, the deal was more than just a way to avoid jail. It was an opportunity to hit the reset button on his life. Fame had brought money, attention, and fans, but it also brought temptation and pressure. Despite the legal troubles, Chumlee is doing just fine. He wasn't sentenced to life imprisonment, and he's not behind bars. Thanks to the massive popularity of Pawn Stars, especially during its early seasons, Chumlee became a fan favorite. So he decided to start his own company, selling novelty items and Chumlee-branded merchandise. T-shirts, toys, collectibles, you name it. Chumlee wasn't just a TV personality anymore. He was becoming a brand. And get this, his merchandise sold better than anyone else's from the show. That's how popular he was. Fans didn't just watch him on TV, they wanted a piece of Chumlee to take home. As his business grew, Chumlee realized he needed help managing the flood of orders. So in 2010, he made another clever move. He sold half of his company to Rick Harrison, the boss at the pawn shop, for $155,000. It wasn't just about the money. It was about efficiency. With Rick's help, the business could run smoother and grow even bigger. It was a win-win. Rick got a stake in a booming side business, and Chumlee got to focus on what he loved, connecting with fans, designing new products, and making personal appearances across the country. So, while people might have expected him to fade away after the legal drama, Chumlee was thriving. He proved that he was more than just the punchline of a joke. He had hustle, he had vision, and more than anything, he had the fans. Chumlee, the lovable star from Pawn Stars, took a sweet turn in his career when he opened his very own candy shop, Chumlee's Candy on the Boulevard, back in 2017. And guess what? It turned out to be a big hit. Who would have thought the funny guy behind the pawn shop counter would become the owner of a candy store filled with colorful treats and old-school snacks? But that's exactly what happened. Fans from all over the country, and even the world, have stopped by to get a taste of nostalgia. So, what makes Chumlee's candy shop special? For starters, it's not just candy. It's a trip down memory lane. The store is packed with retro, nostalgic, and novelty treats, the kind of candy you probably haven't seen since you were a kid. From jawbreakers to taffy, from old-school gum to novelty toothpicks and jerky, the shop brings smiles to people of all ages. And yes, Chumlee-branded candy is on the shelves too. Fans can buy products with his face or name on them. Perfect souvenirs for anyone who watches Pawn Stars. It's not just a business, it's a personal brand come to life. As of 2024, Chumlee's Candy on the Boulevard is still open and serving up sweet treats in the heart of Las Vegas. If you're ever in town and craving something nostalgic or sugary, you can head over to 725 South Las Vegas Boulevard, Las Vegas, Nevada. That's where the magic happens. But here's where things get interesting. While the candy shop is open, fans have started to wonder, where's Chumlee? His official Instagram page for the store, Chum's Candy, has been quiet since October 7th, 2023. What happened? Well, his last post was a sad one. He was mourning the loss of his beloved dog, Forrest. Chumlee shared a heartfelt message, showing that behind the tattoos, jokes, and TV fame, there's a guy with a big heart. That moment gave fans a glimpse into his softer, more emotional side. Yes, he's had his share of legal troubles, but this showed he's human too. Then, just before Christmas, on December 23rd, 2023, Chumlee popped up at the store. He made an appearance, surprising fans and spreading holiday cheer. It was the kind of visit fans live for, getting candy and a selfie with a TV icon. Want to catch him in person? Chumlee usually lets fans know on Facebook when he'll be at the store. But here's the twist. After that December post, there haven't been any new updates on Facebook or Instagram. Not a single one. Fans are wondering, is Chumlee just laying low? Is he taking time off? Or planning something new? Even with the silence on social media, the shop is still open, and people are still walking through its doors to grab a bite of nostalgia. But one thing's clear, Chumlee's Candy on the Boulevard isn't just about sweets, It's about a story, a personality, and a guy who keeps fans guessing. Will he make another appearance soon? Will he revive the store's social media? Or is something big coming next? Let's find out. In April 2024, fans of Pawn Stars got a big surprise. Austin Lee Chumlee, Russell was spotted in Detroit, and he wasn't just there for fun. He was back doing what he does best, filming season 2 of Pawn Stars Do America. If you're wondering what Pawn Stars Do America is all about, it's a spin-off of the original Pawn Stars series that made Chumlee a household name. But instead of staying put in Las Vegas, this version takes the crew, Chumlee, Rick Harrison, and Corey Harrison on the road. They travel across the country, meeting people, hearing fascinating stories, and checking out some of the quirkiest and most valuable treasures in America. So, what brought Chumlee to the Motor City? That's right, Detroit. He was seen filming an episode there in April, and excitement spread fast. Locals spotted him interacting with fans and looking through rock and roll memorabilia, vintage neon signs, and rare comic books. All the kind of stuff that makes the show so fun to watch. From Van Morrison's autograph to offbeat collectibles, Chumlee and the crew never know what treasure, or trash, they'll find. The episode filmed in Detroit aired on April 3rd, 2024, according to Michigan Live. Fans loved seeing Chumlee doing what he does best, bringing his humor, charm, and surprisingly deep knowledge to the table. Despite his past troubles, Chumlee has shown he's still a key player in the Pawn Stars world, and he's not going anywhere. For years, Pawn Stars fans knew Chumlee as the funny, lovable guy with a big personality and a big body to match. But behind the scenes, Chumlee was struggling with something serious: his health. He wasn't happy with how he felt physically, and it was starting to take a toll on his life. That's when he made a bold, life-changing decision to take control of his weight. Chumlee didn't just go on a diet or start hitting the gym. He went for something more dramatic and permanent. He decided to have bariatric surgery, a medical procedure that helps people lose weight by changing how their stomach works. For Chumlee, the specific type of surgery he chose was called a gastric bypass, a procedure where the stomach is made much smaller, so a person can't eat as much food as before. It also changes how the body digests food, helping people feel full faster and lose weight more effectively. It's not an easy fix. It requires a complete lifestyle change, but for many people, including Chumlee, it can be a game changer. And it worked. After his surgery, Chumlee lost an incredible 160 pounds. That's like dropping the weight of an entire adult person. The transformation didn't just change how he looked, it completely changed how he felt. His energy improved. His movement became easier. He could do everyday things without struggling. His quality of life skyrocketed. He's not the only reality star to take this path. Fans of 90 Day Fiancé will recognize Angela Deem, who also had weight loss surgery. And from 1000 lb Sisters, Tammy Slayton shocked the world when she dropped over 400 pounds after her own procedure. Like them, Chumlee took a big risk, but gained his health and confidence in return. Now, when fans see Chumlee, they're not just seeing a familiar TV face. They're seeing someone who made a huge commitment to change and followed through. His weight loss story is inspiring, and it's proof that anyone can make a comeback when they set their mind to it. Before he made the bold decision to get weight loss surgery, Chumlee was already on a mission to transform his health. His journey didn't start in the hospital. It began in the gym, with sweat, effort, and a powerful reason. Years ago, Chumlee took his health seriously after experiencing something truly heartbreaking: the death of his father. Chumlee's dad passed away at just 54 years old from pancreatic cancer, only 2 weeks before Pawn Stars first hit the air. That moment changed Chumlee's outlook. It was a wake-up call. He didn't want to follow the same path. He wanted to live longer, feel better, and take control of his body. So, Chumlee hit the ground running, literally. He started working out 6 days a week, pushing himself in the gym. He also cleaned up his diet. No more junk food, greasy burgers, or lazy eating habits. He focused on fresh juices, lots of vegetables, and even gave up red meat, which is known to be hard on the body. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. Over time, he managed to lose an impressive 75 pounds through sheer willpower. But here's the thing, weight loss is not always a straight path. Like many people, Chumlee faced setbacks. He gained some of the weight back and the up and down cycle, the yo-yo dieting, began. It's something so many people struggle with. You work hard, lose weight, and then slowly slip back into old habits. It can be frustrating, discouraging, and exhausting. Chumlee realized that if he wanted lasting change, he needed something more permanent. That's when he made the life-altering decision to go through bariatric surgery, a step that would help him maintain the weight loss and improve his health for good. Chumlee is not just lighter on the scale, he's lighter in life, too. After shedding a massive amount of weight through gastric bypass surgery, Chumlee has opened the door to a brand new lifestyle. Before, his size held him back. Now, he's out exploring the world, doing things he couldn't do before. And one of the coolest things he's done? Ride a hovercraft. For years, Chumlee had wanted to try it, but there was a problem. The hovercraft had a maximum weight limit, and he was over it. No matter how much he wanted to hop on and zoom across the ground, it just wasn't safe. But now, after dropping the weight, he finally fits the requirement. And he did it. He rode the hovercraft and had a blast. It was a moment of freedom and a reminder of how far he's come. That might sound like a small thing, but for Chumlee, it meant a lot. It wasn't just about fun. It was about realizing that his new body gave him choices, freedom to try things he had once thought were impossible. Even though his transformation happened a few years ago, around 2021, the impact of his weight loss still matters today. It's not just about the number on the scale or how he looks on TV. It's about how he feels, what he can do, and how it's changed his outlook on life. He now moves with more ease. He enjoys everyday activities that used to be a struggle. Things like walking longer distances, fitting into seats comfortably, or traveling without worry. He's not just living, he's thriving.